let's just pretend for this video that blue definitely is my color, and then I can go wash it off afterwards because it's a lot. I don't know if it's me. I don't know if I have to get used to this. Okay, let's pretend, right? Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. Oh my goodness, it is pouring rain outside right now. So if you can hear anything, that's what it is. I'm happy to be inside filming all day today. Today is going to be the update for my Pan Those eyeshadows. I'm very excited to update you guys, and I'm also very excited to roll some new shadows. If you don't know what Pan Those eyeshadows is, essentially you roll in shadows and you try to hit pan, so you try to hit the bottom. I am using the spreadsheet that Makeup with Laney made. I have her link down below as well as the spreadsheet. And I roll prompts randomly and then I pick my shadows. If I hit pan in a shadow, that prompt will be removed from the list, so I will not be able to roll it again unless it's a prompt that's in there multiple times. There are some duplicates in this prompt list, so there's that. If I don't hit pan in a shadow and I want to roll it out, I can after having it in for 2 months, but then the prompt will stay in my wheel and I can get that prompt again. So let's start checking out my shadows. I will start with the shadow that has been in the longest and work my way up to the one that was rolled in the last. So the shadow that has been in the longest as right now comes from my Milani Gilded Terra palette, and it was rolled in for the prompt Inner Corner Highlight. Now in the last update I had used this 16 times. I have used it another 7 more, and hopefully you can see that I was able to hit pan. There is a pan right there. It's a little bit hard to see because it's almost the same shade as the shadow is. So it took me another 7 uses to hit pan. I am still on the fence about Milani formula, but I'm happy to have another pan in this palette, and I'm also happy that this is rolling out. Then the next shadow comes from my Beauty Bay Berries palette, and this was rolled in for the prompt A Shadow from a Monochromatic Palette. This palette is all pinks, as you can see, and I rolled in the shade Doll, which is right here. I have previously used this 6 times and I've used it 5 more times this month. You can see some slight disturbance in the pan, but not a lot is happening. I have been mainly using this in my crease with a very fluffy brush, so it is going to take some time to hit pan, but I'm going to leave it in because I have really been enjoying this combined with some oranges and pink. It is spring. I wouldn't say that looking outside right now because it is pouring rain, but it is spring, and I have found myself reaching more and more for my warmer tone shadows. I love my yellows and oranges, and putting a pink in the mix doesn't hurt. I really like that too, so I'm gonna keep this in. We're at 11 uses. I have no idea how many uses it will take me to hit pan, but we shall see. And then all of the following shadows were rolled in last update. So the first one comes from my Beauty Bay Bright palette, and this was for the prompt starts with H, and I rolled in the shade Heather, which is the purple right here. If it wants to focus, hopefully you can see. Again, it's a tiny speck of pan, but there is pan. This one was very nice to pair with that pink that I just showed you. I did so many looks with pink, yellow, and then purple and a gold or yellow on the lid. I had to use this 5 times to hit pan, which isn't a lot. The Beauty Bay shadows are very shallow, and also this shadow was not very, I don't want to say pigmented. It was, I really had to build it up. So to get this purple shade on my lids, I had to dip about 2 or 3 times into the shadow, quite roughly to pick it up and then put it on my eyes. The 5 uses probably is more like 10 uses because I was double dipping, but every time I used it, every day I used it, I counted as 1. So that's why I'm at 5 and I have hip pan, but this one is rolling out. Then for the prompt A to Z roulette, I had to randomize a letter and I got the letter Y, and I set myself up for success because this shadow, it comes from my Juvia's Place Magic Mini palette, already had quite a dip in there. It had been in another project last year, so I was like, I'm gonna choose this one and hit pan it. It took me 2 uses to hit pan, so that's how deep this dip already was. It was this one right here, 2 uses and I hit pan. I think after the 2 uses I used it another 3rd time just because I liked the shadow, but this one is rolling out. It was a very easy one, but that's okay. Then I rolled in another Juvia's Place shadow last time. This one comes from my Zulu palette, and this was for the prompt something you want to pan. And I rolled in the yellow shade right here. I love this yellow. This is such a nice shadow. It is not very bright sunny yellow, but it's more of like almost a cross between a yellow and an orange. I love this shadow so much. So I have worn this shadow so much over the last month. I've paired it, like I said, with that pink. So I would do yellow in the inner part of my crease, then pink in the outer part of my crease, and then purple and gold on the lid. I loved it. I really, really loved it. I have used this shadow 11 times as of right now. You can see a little bit of disturbance starting to form. You can see where I've dipped my brush. But again, I'm using this with a very fluffy crease brush, so it might take me a while to hit pan. I am gonna leave this in because I love this shadow so much. Again, I might roll it out next update if I don't feel like working on it anymore, but for now, it is very welcome to stay. I love it very much, so that's gonna stay in. And the last shadow was rolled in for the prompt Duochrome. I rolled in my Kimchi Orange palette, and I worked on the last shade in the palette. It doesn't have a name. It is a orange to pink duochrome. Hopefully you can see that. And I was able to hit pan in this shadow as well. So this also paired very nicely in looks that I did with that yellow from Juvia's Place and the pink. So it was a great shadow to be working on. I had to use this 8 times to hit pan. It had some previous use when I rolled it in. It has been, I'm almost certain it has been in pan those eyeshadows before, but I could not find when and where and how many times I used it then. So 8 uses to hit pan, and this is rolling out. So we are rolling 4 new prompts. I'm very excited, a little bit nervous, but honestly, I'm getting good prompts every time, and picking my shadows really helps me to make a color story that I love to work on. So I'm just gonna tap for a new prompt. Let's see. Shadow that starts with P. I feel like I have a lot of prompts left with letters, so big chance we get those. Brown shadow matte. Okay, a little bit boring, but that's okay. An indie shadow. Oh, okay. That's exciting. And last one is green shadow matte. Okay, I'm gonna see what shadows I want to work on and what I can work on, and I will be right back to show you. All right, I have made my decision and I'm very excited, very excited. First up, shadow that starts with P. I picked a shadow from my Beauty Bay Earthy palette, and I'm going for the shade Pixie, which is right here, a green shimmer. It looks to have a little bit of a golden sheen to it. In the swatch at least. I will show you swatches at the end. But that's the first one rolling in. Then for brown matte, I'm going back to my Milani palette, because why not? And I'm rolling in the shade Branch Out. This already kind of has a dip, so I decided why not roll this one in. It's just a standard matte brown, so fine to work on. Then for an indie shadow, I am rolling in my Mica Beauty Shop Serpent palette. This, I just knew right away I wanted to work on this shadow because this is the best shadow in this palette. I am rolling in the shade Venom, which is right here. And you can see I already have some use on this. This is my go-to shadow from this palette. I love it so much. Every time I have a special occasion, I need to remind myself that I have other Mica Beauty Shop singles to put on my eyes, because I love to go back to that shade. And then the last one, a green matte. I am back at my Beauty Bay Earthy palette because there's enough greens in here, and I'm going to be working on the shade Apple, which is right here. This also has been in, I believe, a Panda's eyeshadow, so there is some use on this as well. So I figured why not roll it in to try and hit pan. So with all of that, this is my color story. There we go. So we have the matte pink from Beauty Bay and the yellow from Julia's Place staying in. This is the shade Pixie from the Beauty Bay Earthy palette. This is the dark brown from Milani. This is the shade Venom. As you can see, that is a stunning shadow. I love it so much. And then this is the shade Apple from the Beauty Bay Earthy palette. So this is my color story. Does it really make sense? Not too much. The pink is kind of sticking out compared to all of these shades, but I'm sure I can make it work. I know that someone commented on my last update to use the pink as a blush, which is a great idea. I'm currently working on a blush in my project pan, but I will definitely see if I can use this shadow as a blush as well to try and hit pan a little bit quicker. But overall, I'm very happy with this color story. I cannot stop looking at this shadow. This is such a stunning shade. I'm so excited to start working on this color story and all of these shadows. And then that concludes this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will hopefully see you in one of my next videos. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.